Hi, I'm Callie and welcome to Kapowski Reads. And I'm about to go to Pilates, okay? I'm given what I'm given right now. I look like Miss Trunchbull with my tiny little top knot. I don't have enough hair for this. I just wanted to do a quick intro to this video and then I'm gonna go and work my core. I am gonna be reading, hopefully, 3 books in this video where I am just trying to get back into the habit of reading books I enjoy. I have had a spell of reading books that just didn't wow me, and I've picked 3 books that I think are going to, at the very least, give me a really fun time. So I'm going to introduce my books. A non-fiction book called Hit Girls by Nora Princiotti. This book is about female pop stars of the 2000s, and that is something I'm very, very interested in. Well, I was there in the 2000s, loving the pop music, having a good time, doing a lot of dancing. I think this is going to be a fun, nostalgic read. Next, I have 2 fiction books. I have a teeny tiny little book by Muriel Spark. This is a modern classic by a Scottish author. It's called The Driver's Seat. Look how teeny tiny it is, but it's so cute. All I know about this is that it's strange, and I'm here for that. I love a strange book. Give me a strange book. I understand why people have not told me too much about it. It's only about 110 pages of a small, like, maybe not use my head for scale, maybe use another book for scale. It's a bit smaller than an average sized paperback. The next book, The Wedding Engagement by Zoe Allison. This is a romance between 2 friends. It's set in the Scottish Highlands. It is 2 friends, but it's also best friend's twin sister, childhood bestie, that kind of thing. We're gonna have feelings of, oh, but we shouldn't. And I'm like, yeah, you should. Do it. Smooch. That's what I imagine I'm gonna be yelling throughout this book. I have a lot of plans for today. I'm a busy little bee. I'm gonna go off going to Pilates. I am going to the library. I have some library books to return. I didn't enjoy them, which is why there is no library video. They're red, but they both made me quite angry because I was disappointed by them. And then I was disappointed by me making bad choices and picking books I didn't like. So I'm going to return those. I'm going to go to my local independent bookshop. It's the owner's birthday. They are doing a promo. She's turning 30. And if you have a stamped discount card, reward card, then you get 30% off of a paperback instead of 20. And there's a poetry collection that I want to pick up by a local author. So I know she has copies of those books, and I thought 30% off, not too bad. So I'm going to go off, go to the bookshop, get a poetry collection, because that's apparently who I am. And then I'm going to go get coffee. I need to get coffee for the house because we're running low on beans, and I want to get coffee for me because I've had no coffee today and I like to have coffee every day. I think that's all of my plans for today. Then I'm going to read. I'm going to go out, do all the things, read. That's it. I'm hopeful that we're going to have a good time with these books. That's all I want. But I'm going to go now. Then I'll be back with bookish updates. Wish me luck. I am home. I achieved all of my errands, did everything that I said I was going to do, and I showered, and I have fluffy hair, but we're going with it. I bought 2 books when I was at the bookshop, so I thought I would show you the 2 books. That makes sense. The first book is Blood Songs. This is a poetry collection by a local author called May Diane Sangu. I actually learned about this book with the sort of Polaris scandal. I think that's probably the best way to say it without swearing about it. And I'm always up for reading books by Scottish authors. This is one by somebody who is super duper local to me. So I felt I had to. And the other book I got was The Coin by Yasmin Zaher. I've wanted this book for so long, but I could only find it on hardback. It was so expensive. But paperback, £10. Bargain. It came home with me, as evidenced by me being home with the book. And I am going to just spend the rest of the day reading. Not these two new books. I'm going to read these soon. But now I'm finishing the driver's seat because I'm really liking it so far. I read 75 pages earlier and I don't know, maybe I'll finish it today. Maybe not. But I feel so happy that I'm reading something and I'm like, yes, I want to read this. That's kind of all I wanted. I will be back with an update hopefully soon. I have not one but two reading updates. I went out for coffee and I got myself a lavender latte. I've never had a lavender latte before, but I really like lavender. I don't really go for a latte that often, but it was delicious. And I went to Gaelic Lane, which is one of my favourite cosy little cafes in Aberdeen, and I read my book. I finished my book. It's very small, but I am taking achievements where there are achievements. I also finished my non-fiction, Hit Girls. So I am going to start with, well, I suppose who do I start with? I'll start with my little book first. So The Driver's Seat by Muriel Spark. This is about a woman called Lise, or Lise. I think it's Lise. And she's going on holiday. And the book starts with her trying to find the most garish outfit. Truly the most hideous outfit. Clashing patterns, bold colours. And she really wants something that's gonna stain, which is a bizarre choice. She goes off on holiday. She goes to Italy. And she is a very strange character. Very strange. Very kind of quirky. And not likable really at all. The book is so short that I'm very conscious of I don't want to give any spoilers, so I'm going to be kind of vague. She goes off to Italy where she stays in this kind of grubby hotel. She makes acquaintances with some very odd people. A man who is very into his very special diet, carrying bags of rice with him across country. She meets an older lady, goes on a shopping trip with her, buys a blender abroad. Wild. And she just gets herself into all of these strange and quite dangerous situations. She's quite reckless with her safety. In chapter 3 of the book, we learn that our protagonist, Lise, is going to be murdered. And the book then becomes not so much a whodunit because it hasn't been done yet, but it becomes like a why done it. So you spend the rest of the book, or at least I did, trying to work out, well, why is somebody going to harm Lise? I mean, sure, you maybe don't want to be friends with her, but there's a very, very large gap between not wanting to be friends with somebody and then them being bumped off in a book. So I'm trying to work out, what's she been up to? Like, why does she have an enemy? Have we met her enemy? So it was really exciting trying to work out why somebody was going to end Lise and who was going to end Lise and who, what, where, when and why. I thought this was so exciting. It was so Moorish. I just really wanted to know what was going to happen. I really, really wanted a resolution. there's a big twist right at the end, of course, and I didn't see it coming at all. I was gasping at the end of this. It was so good. This is only my second Muriel Spark book. The first one I read was The Prime of Miss Jean Brodie, but a very cursory Google told me that this is Muriel Spark's favourite of her own works, and it's my favourite too. I really liked it. It was weird, it was creepy, it was very unnerving, and it was very, very tense. And it's so super short that it was kind of a nice little boost to me to finish something, because I have been having a bit of a reading slump, and when I have a reading slump, I'm still reading. I'm just not enjoying things. And that's maybe me, where I am, like in my head at that time, or it's just I've made bad book choices. But I made a good book choice and I finished this and I loved it. I had a great time with it. I don't actually think I've marked it as being read yet. I'm so behind on updating books. I'm giving this like at least a 4.5, probably a 4.5 actually, now that I say that. And the next book I have finished, because I finished my non-fiction as well, was Hit Girls by Nora Princiotti. I went into this book not actually knowing anything about the author. They have a podcast and I don't really listen to that many podcasts. I tend to only really listen to podcasts that are by female comedians, really. I don't think I listen to that many other podcasts. But I went into this excited because the 2000s, this book is about the female pop stars of the 2000s that made that era, that had huge impact on the noughties. What a horrible name for a decade. And that is one of my favourite decades to sort of reminisce about. I was 13 when it started, I was 23 when it ended. So I grew, like, those were my most formative years in the 2000s. So I was so excited. I liked the book, but I didn't love it. I had some issues with it. I had a small rant about this book as well, but that's just me being contrary. This book was more opinion than fact, which is fine. I feel the author's personal bias really came in with this book when it came to which artists got more pages than others. Britney Spears, obviously, massive. When it comes to pop stars, female pop stars in the 2000s, of course Britney had to take the crown. But what I found interesting was that the artists who had the next largest number of pages were Avril Lavigne and Taylor Swift, which I found to be very interesting. Beyonce got the least number of pages of the artists who had named chapters. Beyonce had 9 pages and Taylor Swift had 23 and Avril Lavigne had 23. Britney had 25. And I feel like that is absolutely wild when you think about the impact that Beyonce had on the 2000s versus the impact that Avril Lavigne and Taylor Swift had on the 2000s. I'm not saying they didn't have great music. I was a huge fan of Avril Lavigne, still really enjoy Avril Lavigne songs. I have never really listened to Taylor Swift, but she's very, very popular. So, you know, her music must be great. But I don't think of Taylor Swift in particular as being impactful on the 2000s. I think of her as being a huge influence on the 2010s or the 2020s. But it feels like the author maybe just wanted to include Taylor Swift because they really like her. And that came across in the chapter where they just talked for 23 pages about how much they really liked Taylor Swift and then thanked Taylor Swift at the end of the book, which was really weird. It was very strange. I don't know. I felt I wasn't sure what the book was trying to achieve. I also feel like there were a lot of, I was expecting more of our pop girlies to be mentioned in the book based on the artists that are on the actual cover. But so many artists that were huge in the 2000s were just mere side notes. Like Christina Aguilera was a side note, and I would say like she was kind of massive in the 2000s, was she not? Katy Perry, Kasha, Jennifer Lopez, they were all just side notes in other people's chapters. And I just don't know what the book was trying to achieve. I think I was sort of hoping that this was going to be kind of like Toxic by Sarah Dittum. I went to get it, yes. I was thinking that this was going to be a bit more like this book, where each chapter is named after an artist, but that sort of opens up the discussion for a certain element. So like the Britney Spears chapter would maybe open up the floor to discussing the blonde, beautiful pop stars that were having a little bit, they weren't even having a rivalry. We can listen to them all. You don't need to fight. But there was a huge thing in the 2000s of, you know, pitting some similar looking artists against each other, even though there was room for everybody. So I kind of felt a bit disappointed. It was fun, but it ultimately was just kind of like candy floss. It didn't leave me with any sort of food for thought. My life is no different for having read this book. I feel really bad. Beyonce should have had more pages. Like, I know, I love Destiny's Child, and I know this wasn't about bands, but Destiny's Child were fantastic. And Beyonce was like one of the first musicians, I think, I could be totally wrong, but I just feel in the 2000s, she was sort of the most successful solo artist who left a band. Was she not? I don't know. I don't know. But I just felt like that was an interesting choice. I have about half of the wedding engagement left to read, and I'm having a good time so far. I feel there's going to be some conflict and people aren't using their words, and I'm like, use your words, but there has been smooching, so I'll take it. I will be back in a little bit, hopefully having finished the wedding engagement, and then I will have 3 books that I've enjoyed in a video. That's the goal. That's hopefully what I'm going to manifest it. Is that how you manifest things? I will be back in a bit. It has taken longer than I thought it would, but I have finally finished The Wedding Engagement by Zoe Allison. I don't know if I mentioned at the beginning that this is a book by a Scottish author, because it is. So I've actually managed to read 2 books by Scottish authors in this video. This book was adorable. It was charming. It was so sweet. This book is, you could say it's a sequel, but it's also not. I feel it's sort of a literature universe versus a sequel, in that the author wrote another book which I think was called The Xmas something. That's not helpful at all, is it? The Xmas Holidays. And this book focuses on characters that we didn't really get to know. The Xmas Holiday focused on a romance between 2 characters. This focuses on a romance between their besties. So we have Olivia. She is referred to as Liv, and she is just a really kind soul. She is a nursery teacher. She teaches martial arts. She is a fiercely protective friend, and all around good egg. She is crushing on a man called Aaron, who just so happens to be her twin brother's best friend. And she's known him like her entire life. Aaron is a sweetheart. He had a big breakup last year. His fiance left him. They are currently co-parenting their child, Jace, who is just adorable. And he's like 4. He's super cute. And he calls Liv Lib, and it's so cute. Liv and Aaron both fancy the pants off of each other, but they're not going to use their words, are they? No. And this book is their story. They are basically organising a wedding for Liv's brother, who got engaged to Liv's best friend. There's a lot of best friend dating here. It's just cute. And during the arrangements for the wedding, Liv and Aaron get a little bit closer. He draws her portrait because of course he's an artist, and they're smooching. I loved this book. It was so cute. I love a romance that is cute. It's fun. I was kicking my little hooves in delight. The characters are so lovely, so lovable. They're very deep. And I feel like I don't get that. I don't read a lot of romance, first of all. But I find like when I read romance, I rarely get a huge like, this is why this character is like this. There's usually like maybe a throwaway comment or something. But Liv has got some commitment fears. She is terrified that she is just like her dad, her deadbeat dad. He is called douchebag Dave. We don't like him. And she has spent her life being told that she's just like her dad. But her dad was cruel, like a narcissist. He gaslit his wife. He was horrible to his family. He basically ignored his daughter, spent all of his time with his son, didn't really want to be a dad to a daughter. He was not a good guy. Douchebag Dave does rock up in this book, but do not fear. He gets what's coming to him. And I was delighted. But we get Liv, who's doing some healing, and she's looking at herself of like, what do I need to work on? And I love that in a character. I love when a character is like, either I'm flawed, oh well, I'm gonna just get more flaws. Or they're like, I'm flawed, what can I do? And I really like that. I love the friendship. We have a core group of 6 and they are friends, like lifelong friends. And it's so nice, the witty bants between them. And the trio of women just blooming love a scone. I think it's so cute. They feel realistic. Like I could be friends with them. There's an old lady neighbor called Agatha, and I love her. She turns up her hearing aid so that she can eavesdrop on people and poke her beacon, but like in a cute way, in a really endearing, what a charming old lady way, not in a grr, stop it way. This was just a fun time. Gorgeous Scottish Highland setting, lovely romance. There's a bit of spice, which there was a bit of spice, and if you like that in a book, it has it. For me, it was all about the characters and I love the characters. I really enjoyed this book. It was a fun time. I was hoping there's maybe going to be a third book in this sort of literary universe, because there's still 2 characters who are not coupled up. I want it for them, but I don't know if they're ready. I don't know if they're ready. But if they are, I would love that for them. I would love that for me. I don't read a lot of romance, like I say, but this is an author who I would read more romance by. I just really like the way she writes characters. They feel like people I would want to spend time with. So I have now finished my 3 books. 2 books, which were Scottish, The Wedding Engagement and The Driver's Seat, and my non-fiction, and I had a really good time. I'm really happy with the books that I chose. I don't know, maybe I made good choices. Yes, let's say I made good choices. I had a good time with these, and I'm finishing this vlog on a high. I didn't have a disappointing read. Let's keep a hopeful heart that this is me back on the up. And yeah, let me know if you've read any of these books, or if you're interested in them, or just what you've been reading. Thank you so much for watching. I'm gonna go, I've just finished work. Can you tell? Yeah, this looked better like 8 hours ago. Thank you for watching. Bye.